Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Sunday, September 22nd, 12:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 2019. You're looking at spectacular footage of one of the 22,000-foot plumes puffing from Popo. This is coming after 15 explosions in the last 24 hours, which is an uptick. We've had 16 explosions in 30 hours at Popo. The snow continues to pile up in the GFS models. Wyoming is picking up some of the heavy totals now. Keep calm. It's Saturday, and it's boom time. Climatologists don't expect drought-busting snowfall again this year because I'm getting paid by the global warmists. Well, they may be wrong, and they may have not factored in cosmic rays at all. And we'll get to that. Weather officials in Tahoe have another story. They're going with the Farmer's Almanac that says that this winter will be a snowpocalypse. Temperatures have dropped at Tahoe already, and it's seen its first snowfall in summer. Winter-like weather has made the regular appearance at this time of year for decades, and it gets everyone thinking, what will the winter bring? The verdict, people need to strap in for a wild ride, according to the Farmer's Almanac, who has dubbed the winter 2020 as the polar coaster. Have you heard Jackson Hole and Big Sky see more snow accumulations? This is like 14 states with snow dumps. And the equinox is not actually until the 23rd. Isn't that crazy? Have you heard? Cordova Airport, Alaska sets its lowest ever temperature in 110 years of data back on September 12th. That was the same night we got our first frost down here in the Rockies. Yes, 3 weeks earlier than normal. And we just got another harder freeze this morning, the morning of the 20th and the 21st. So it's a double whammy. And Cordova Airport in Alaska and the fearmongers up there are not left out. They're not burning up. Clearly, we can see here on this data, intense Arctic cold descended into some anomalously low latitudes last week, including here, 40 degrees north we froze. And also including southern Alaska, where a new all-time monthly lowest minimum temperature was set. According to official NOAA data, a new lowest minimum temperature was set for the month of September at Cordova Airport, Alaska last week, which sits at an elevation of just 31 feet. The mercury plunged to minus 11.7 C, only 11 Fahrenheit on Thursday, September 12th, which definitely froze their crops. Yes, totally cropped there. Let's check the sea ice thickness, building rapidly. We are going into a cooling period, so these curves are going to be tighter and steeper and deeper. And look how deep the ice and thick the ice is here on the northeastern corner of Greenland. Yes, 5 meters plus. And look at the snow depths. Oh my God. Can you say Canada? God bless. So it's only the beginning of these models which really are valid. So if we could just take it 5 or 6 days in, whoa! It will be an epic reporting coming from British Columbia and Alberta over the next 5 or 6 days. That's all I got to say. And if we extend the model, which is less accurate, it shows a ton of snow coming down all the way to New Mexico by October 7th. This is not what you would expect with a warming world and climate change, by the way. These are some of the most impressive snow totals coming from a GFS model in decades. Those are the facts. A day of rain in Elko nearly doubles September average, totally fluxed in Nevada. And 2019 is now the wettest year on record for Rochester. It's official. The second wettest year was also a solar minimum year at 43 feet, and then back in 1938 at 43 inches. 44 inches is the new total in Rochester, a solar minimum cosmic ray flux masterpiece. If you're unaware, stratospheric radiation in the form of cosmic rays and other forms of radiation entering from the stratosphere, they're all on the increase. We're talking muons penetrating your brain and maybe causing evolution to happen as we speak. Maine is the most insane with up to 18% increase since May 2015. California, right behind them. Kansas, Oregon, another steep curve. The higher north you go, ho, 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 the closer to Santa you are. Now, here's the scientific paper that proves what I just discussed about flooding and cosmic rays and record snow. The missing link between exploding stars, clouds, and climate on Earth. It was a 3-decade battle from the Technical University of Denmark, Heinrich Svensmark, and now his son, who is continuing the legacy of truthiness in the world of climatology and cosmology. And it went so far as 2 decades later, the Cloud Project at CERN tried to disprove them. And guess what? They proved their theory to be true. The missing link between exploding stars and clouds and climate on Earth is cosmic rays, which results in cloud nucleation in the middle atmosphere, intense rainfall, cooling of the planet. In layman's terms, I'll link you with Physics World, the article coming out in September 2013. Physicists claim further evidence of the link between cosmic rays and cloud formation, and this will give you some background on Svensmark's work, how far it goes back, and then you can go on a YouTube festival and look at all the videos that told Heinrich he was wrong for years, until he was proven right. But we knew all along, didn't we? Now here's some of the bad news. Alaska youth is suing the state over climate change to be heard in the state Supreme Court now. It's gone all the way to the top. And now this is coming with some of the worldwide climate strikes and debates and marches and other nonsense that is not only wasting time and energy, but it is continuing to indoctrinate the sheeple with the brainwashing mass thought process. No one is willing to go out on a limb here and actually check the data. They just keep nodding and watching MSNBC or whatever fucking channel they have on, and they're like, wow. Now here's the problem. And why this got to the Supreme Court is anyone's guess, because a single person could have fact-checked one piece of information, and they would have realized this is a waste of time. But I'm going to break it down for you tonight, because it is Saturday night. Well, Sunday morning, however you look at it. The lead plaintiff, Esau Sinok of Shishmaref, has seen the impacts of changing climate firsthand. This is the kid that is now suing the federal government all the way to the level of the Supreme Court for climate change. In 2016, the village voted to relocate because of erosion caused by rising sea levels. Okay? Erosion caused by rising sea levels in Alaska. Decreased sea ice in the Chukchi Sea has also made hunting and fishing difficult, and transportation more dangerous. And according to the kid who, Esau, he says, since my grandfather was a boy, I used to hear stories of him telling me that the ice out there used to be as thick as a house. Twice as thick, up to 10 feet thick. Well, that's the only true statement in this entire article. And we're going to break it down for you right now. Diamond style. What you're looking at is the NCAR ice anomaly data dating back to 1973, which you will seldom see unless you watch Tony Heller or other truth channels. The reason you don't see this is because the area in pink, which is from NOAA, by the way, has been eliminated from the discourse. It no longer exists because it shows huge sea ice levels as early as 1973. Back when Esau's grandfather was a boy, 50 years ago, sea ice was epic in Alaska and up in the Arctic. But by 1979, there was almost no sea ice at all, and that began the global warming scare. And since then, sea ice has been actually increasing. But it ebbs and flows every 5 years, up and down. And we just happen to be on a 4 or 5 year down. And now we're going back up. For the last 2 years, ice is back up. and it will become much more rapid. You can see here a total reversal from 1973 to 1979 in extreme ice to no ice. So it's just as little as 6 or 7 years, you can get massive shifts in the Arctic, which we are going to be reporting on in the next few years as Arctic ice builds to levels beyond the 1973 level. So the young boy Esau's accounts of his grandfather were true. Now let's get to the very beginning statement here. In 2016, the village voted to relocate due to erosion caused by rising sea levels. Now, that really got me because there is not a single buoy or data set in Alaska that's showing that sea level has risen at all in the last 100 years. In fact, Alaska is showing some of the most rapid sea level drops of anywhere in the world. And here we're looking at Juneau. From 1925 to present, sea level has dropped over 13 millimeters per year. This is one of the largest sea level drops on the planet. This data is coming from NOAA. Here's some more NOAA data on Skagway, Alaska, where sea level is dropping over 17 millimeters a year. Another area that's one of the most rapid sea level drops on the planet, because of the anomalous 12-year missing data gap, they don't include this. But I will, because it's data. And it proves sea level in Alaska is rapidly dropping, which means that there is no basis for this case going to the Supreme Court. If their main claim is sea level is rising, they have no facts to prove it. Adak Island, Alaska, dropping at almost 3 millimeters a year since 1958. And I actually found Anchorage, which is where this case is going to be taking hold. And they don't want you to know this information. This is the biggest picture of the graph I can find on the interwebs. And I won't even blow it up. But this is Anchorage, Alaska. And the sea level there, overlaid by CO2 in green, you can see there's no relationship between sea level rising and CO2 rising. Sea level here in Anchorage is dropping 2 millimeters a year since records have been kept as sea level rises. So the whole case is a disgrace and a waste of money. It's just a puppet show. Are you a puppet? Something strange is happening to the Greenland ice sheet. This same title is also rehashed today as Something Strange is Happening to the Antarctic Ice Sheet. The same exact article, one in the northern hemisphere, one in the southern hemisphere, both not containing a single fact. Scientists are making up fairy tales to spend their funding so that they can continue their nonsense trot through Successville, or whatever that means. If disinforming the public till you get grant money so you can get a degree as a success, well, you might as well become, yes. Anyway, you're a fraud. You're a useless mouth breather. You're wasting my oxygen. And you're wasting the time of millions of students who are believing that you're a mentor and a scientist. You're a scumbag. And if you're one of the scientists that are writing these papers to allow mainstream to pick up on it so that you can get your name out in the spotlight on garbage, shame on you. And both of these studies are claiming that because of all the melting, the ice is becoming unporous, and it never was, and the water is running off the surface, which it always has. And that the Greenland is catastrophically falling apart and melting like never before. And this just came out today as 3 gigatons of ice built today. Here, let's look at the large version of the graph. I promise. There it is. Just over 3 gigatons today building. Not a single drop of water lost since the end of August. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we're going to get a spike above 11.5 gigatons this year. It's going to have to make them alter the graph. Sometime this winter, we're going to build 14 gigatons of ice in Greenland in a single day, and the media will be silent. Here we are in exact multi-decadal norms of the last 500 years. And today we've gained 3 gigatons of ice as articles come out claiming the opposite. You're all burning up according to the article, not according to the facts. Seismic update. No quakes of note. We reported on this large rocker in Albania, which has transferred over into what could be a deadly earthquake in Italy. I have seen no reports on injuries. The 4.7, 7 kilometers west of Agropoli. But we have a fracking upwelling of nightmare in the central craton of the U.S. And La Esperance at 5.2, it would be the largest quake in this region that we've seen since my update this morning. Phi angle is at 180, so we're waiting for any moment for a large quake to kick off in the 6 magnitude. Very close view of Surtsey and eruption at Anak, Krakatau, Indonesia. Now, those of you that are worried about Anak and want my honest opinion, we'll just, before we see the footage of the idiots sitting on the edge of the caldera, just moments before their death, and they didn't die, but they should have, and many will in the coming times, that are doing exactly what these idiots are doing. Going to an active volcano that recently became active, that has no recent history of being active and sitting on the rim while it blows up. Anyway, what you want to be looking at to see increased intensity in the histogram of the graph is to see more of these purples and the magentas increasing. So some of the major activity back here was when the purples were major. And you could see an overall decline in the purple in the graph. So there is no imminent threat of Anak Krakatau blowing anytime large based on the histogram, but anything is possible. There is no imminent threat, or I would be reporting on it. There is an imminent threat to sheeple that do this. Take a gander and do a dab. It is Saturday night.
Oh là 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 là. Oh putain. Oh la vache. Ouais.
Did he just say what? The activity at the volcano has not changed over the past weeks, with intermittent phreatic and phreomagnetic explosions in the crater lake, which simply means that lava is erupting through water. That's what phreatic means. You learn something new every day. Let's talk about Popo. Popo volcano news and eruption update. Popo volcano elevated activity, 16 explosions during the last 24 hours, including the last boomer, which we're going to rehash right now. Boom! Shungite much? Just a standard puff, but when you add 16 in a row in 30 hours, you're talking something different. Worldwide volcano news update. Sabancaya to 24,000. Nevados de Cholon to 12. Kiss My Aso is puffing. Why not? And we also have Shivolution in the mix, erupting to 15,000 feet as explosive activity continues. We're waiting for that to uptick to 17, 18, 22, maybe 54. Who knows? It's anybody's guess. Jimmy Carter is the president who wanted us to stop climate change, and it hasn't stopped since. And it'll never stop because climate is variable and natural and always changes. It has almost zero to do with you. 0.0001% is because of man, but it's localized, heat island and other dumb shit, pollution. But it doesn't affect the overall climate systems or patterns long term. Those are set cosmogenically. We're in a cosmodynamic world, kids. And that's what forces the weather. Not Jimmy Carter, not Barack Obama, not the IPCC. The cosmos. It's not you, it's the fucking sun. Now I'm done. Here we are at Shivaloosh at the live stream. It looks like it's building to another boom. Something definitely emanating over the caldera there. We're going to keep a close eye on it. The International Space Station will be visible for 17 minutes this weekend, not only in Cincinnati, but all over the East Coast and the coast with the most. If you want to know more, starting at Friday and ending on Sunday, there will be 17 total minutes where you can actually see the International Space Station, not only with the naked eye, but with binoculars, with a telescope, and on and on. And if you're in a spaceship because you were just at Area 51 and were picked up by the Greys, well, you're going to get a front row seat. You know what I'm saying? Robert David Steele. Now, he sounds important. And that's one hell of a trim job on his beard. CIA uses 1,000 of U.S. overseas bases to facilitate the smuggling of drugs, cash, gold, guns, and small children for the elite. Well, is this really breaking news? I doubt it. If you want to know more, check out the American Herald Tribune and the article, which was just published yesterday, and bone up on the Illuminati facts. Venus was potentially habitable until a mysterious event happened billions of years ago, according to this article. Well, according to many others, Venus is not that old. Just 10,000, maybe? Anyway, it was part of the polar configuration of Saturn and may have been ejected from Jupiter. May even come from Uranus. It's anybody's guess. But it's not billions of years old. But it is fucking hot. And it probably deposited most of the petroleum on Earth as it flew by just a few thousand years ago. Yeah. Many people are confounded by the dating of the petroleum in the Gulf because they can't get a date older than like 11.5. Younger Dryas catastrophe much? It's my contention that part of the Younger Dryas sea level rise event and the first and second Dryas and even the Younger Dryas are part of this cosmic catastrophe where the unveiling of Eden occurred, where before that time we lived in a plasmasphere of perfect harmony and a little bit different gravity and other effects. But once the plasma sheath in our polar configuration was ripped apart and we became on the plane of the ecliptic of the new sun as its own satellites, well, Homo sapiens got sunburned and now we're fluxed. So, we got a long way to go with facts, kids. But there is progress. Illinois is expunging marijuana convictions from nearly 800,000 criminal records. And if you want to actually get it expunged from your record, it's going to cost you $800,000 more in a lawyer. Isn't that awesome? Is that how it works? Hey, if you watched the interview with Matt Powers and you're one of the people that donated after it, we love you. 17,173. That is probably Illuminati number or something, right? How do you do it? I don't know. Beer goggles. I used to wear those, but I took them off a decade ago, and I put on my marijuana slippers. You want to know how you're going to turn your dirt into soil? Well, you better want to know, or you're not going to grow any cannabis or food or any other thing for that matter. You're just going to have a shitty time and be miserable and fail. And even if you have good soil, you'll probably be all the same things. But at some point, there'll be a miraculous breakthrough where you get to eat food that you grew. Trust me, I did it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I'm just a geologist. What the fuck do I know about gardening? Hope you got something out of the video. It's Saturday. Do a dab. Do it now. We love each and every one of you. Proper prior planning prevents piss-poor performance. You know how I know? Oh, I already took the shirt off. Jesus Christ. Have a great weekend. Tell someone you love them. And be awesome to everybody, even if they're an asshole. That's how I do it.